Hello, hello, hello. Is Cleburne affordable? How much do you need to make to buy a house in the area? So we're going to look at Cleburne today, and everything that we talk about is revolving around Cleburne. So we're going to look at real estate in Cleburne. We're going to look at property taxes in Cleburne. We're going to look at how the different types of loans can be structured in the city, which is going to be similar to other cities. But overall, we're going to look at everything Cleburne related as it pertains to how much income you actually need to generate in order to purchase a home in Cleburne. So if that's you, if you're looking for a home in Cleburne, you're in luck. You're in luck. We're going to cover that extensively today. So as you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll make sure that we get a hold of those questions and answer them promptly. Let me make sure that we're live. What's going on here? All right, here we go. All right, so how much do you need to earn in order to purchase a home in Cleburne? That's what we're answering today, and we're going to start right now. The first place that we have to start, since we're answering this question of income in affordability and how much we can actually afford, is first addressing how much does it cost to buy a house in Cleburne? What are the costs if we're going to answer this question correctly? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of market research. And this is very simple market research. It's absolutely free for you to do. And this is Altos research, which is real-time market data. You get access to what's currently happening in the city in real time. You understand if it's a buyer's market, seller's market, you're going to see the median price, you're going to see how many days on in inventory, you're going to see a lot of different things that are going to help you understand what the real estate market is actually doing at this present time in the city that you're looking for. So again, this is a free tool for you to use. I personally like this particular website because of what you're going to see down here. So let me zoom in for a quick second, and hopefully it doesn't crash my system. All right, so what you can check out the rest of it, but really the reason that we're here is you could get this chart off of Google. It's not going to bring you that much value outside of just knowing what that looks like. The reason that we want to start here is because this particular website breaks things down into segments. It gives us different quadrants to work with. So I like giving, whenever we're doing buyer presentations, whenever we're doing buyer discovery calls, I like giving real life numbers in relation to the type of home that we're looking to purchase. So as an example, many of our clients that call us from all across the DFW, across multiple states and different countries, they have an idea of the size of the home that they need, the number of bedrooms, the number of baths. So that's what they're coming to the table with that understanding of what they will actually need in terms of a house. And we're able to match that to what type of budget they need to expect in order to purchase that house. So essentially the cost of buying that house in this case in Cleburne. So as you can see, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, with a lot size of 6,500 to 8,000 square feet and around 2,000 square feet, you can expect to pay about $342,000, which if you're thinking that's reasonable, that is absolutely reasonable. If you compare this type of property as an example, if you're in between Cleburne and let's just say Waxahachie or Mansfield or other cities that are south of the DFW Metroplex, you're able to quickly analyze, hey, how far can this budget go? How many options am I going to have? If I need this type of house, can I actually afford it in the particular city that I'm looking for? So it's a really, really simple tool, simple way for you to analyze this right from the get-go. So in this particular case, we're actually going to go with this example. We're looking for 4 beds, 2 baths, and that's going to give us about 2,000 square feet, a little bit over that, and it's going to be about $342,000. So for our purposes today, we're going to be conservative. We're going to say, no, you know what? We'll do that. $342,000. That's our price to match. That's what we need to buy in here in Cleburne. So those are our parameters. So now we know how much it's going to cost us to buy a 4-bed, 2-bath, a little bit over 2,000 square foot home, and it's $342,000. So we're going to X out of this one because we no longer need it. Again, Altos research. So just go to altos.re, type in the city that you're interested in, type in the zip code, the county, and you're going to have some meaningful data to make decisions from. So $342,000, that's what we're looking at today. So I'm going to X out of that. just in case my computer decides to get a little bit crazy on us and pause the show as it sometimes does. All right. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah, you should be able to see this pretty well. All right, so what you're looking at right now is a tool that we use here in-house to do some analysis, to break down affordability, to understand, to share with our clients how much they actually need to earn in order to purchase, in this case, $342,000 home in Cleburne. Again, we're speaking Cleburne only. So how much do we actually need to make in order to afford this house? So we're going to look at different scenarios and really get down to the exact number that we're going to need. All right, so this is linked down below, so make sure that you check this out. And also, this particular tool is the Max Price Calculator. This tool was created by Win the House You Love, the channel Win the House You Love with Kyle Seagrace. So make sure that you go check out that YouTube channel, which is really, really good. But also, it is linked down below, so you can start checking out some of the tools that are available to you right now. They're going to help you make wise financial decisions when it comes to real estate. All right, so let's get into this. Let's go right into what we came here for. So in this scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to assume we're trying to buy this house in Cleburne, and it's $342,000, and our down payment can be anything we want on the face of this planet. So we typically go with 5%. You can do up to 20% or 50%, however much you want. But in many cases, we start off with 5%, as that's what a lot of clients end up going with, especially first-time home buyers. So we're going to say it's a 5% down payment. That's where you're bringing to the table, and we're going to give you the entire breakdown on the following tab, but that's where we're going to start. And I'll explain the loan a little bit more once we have some numbers. The interest rate. Well, the interest rate varies depending on when you're watching this video, depending on the day that you're watching this video. It's going to fluctuate. So until you actually find the home and you lock the loan, then you're not going to necessarily know down to the percentage point what it's going to be in your neck of the woods. So the interest rate, we're going to say mortgage interest rate today. We're just going to Google. We're going to see that the 30-year right now on average is about a 7.6. Now you can adjust the credit score. If you have a little bit more robust of a credit score, let's say 800, that moves it 0.5%. That's seismic. That is huge. But for our purposes, again, we're going to stay in something reasonable per se when it comes to credit score. So we're going to assume that it's a 7.5% loan right now. Again, depending on when you're watching this video, all you have to do is go to mortgage interest rate today on Google, and it's going to give you an answer of what's happening currently in the environment. So hopefully by the time you're watching this video, it's substantially less. I really hope that for you, but we also can't predict the future, so we're not going to necessarily know. For our purposes today, that's actually right on the nose. We're going to stay at 7.5%. That's the interest rate that we're going to play around with. Now, this is something you can adjust on your table, on your calculation through this calculator. So that's going to be something that you're going to be able to adjust along the way. How long is your mortgage? Well, we're going to go with 30 years. That's where most of the loans end up going. So that seems like about right. Property taxes. Let's talk about property taxes real quick, because if you're coming in from a different state, you might not be used to paying property taxes in a significant way. So what that means is property tax rates in Texas are high, on the higher end. It's actually Texas the sixth highest, has the sixth highest property tax rate in the country. So if you're wondering who's number one, that's New Jersey. So if you're not accustomed to really factoring in property taxes and property tax rates in your next purchase decision when it comes to real estate, now's a really good time. If you're purchasing in Texas, you have to understand property taxes. Let me give you some high notes here. Property taxes in relation to the rest of DFW, in relation to the rest of the Metroplex, went right back to the Metroplex. In relation to the United States, is again on the higher end. Property taxes is something you're going to pay every single year for as long as you own that property. So if you have a mortgage, meaning if you have a loan, you're still paying that property tax. If you don't have a loan, you've already paid it off 100%, you're still paying property tax. Property taxes will be with you as long as you own that property So you could own that property 5 years, 30 years, 100 years. You're still paying property tax. They don't go away. So it's something that's very, very real, something that's very important that you need to understand. Now, property taxes in the DFW Metroplex typically come in 5 forms. We're going to get into the actual percentage. So we're going to go down to the city. Again, everything we talk about today is Cleburne. So I'm going to show you exactly where to go and get this information so you can make these calculations with full assurance that you are doing it right, but also that you're going to be able to sustain that loan, assuming you put in the right parameters into this equation. So property tax rate here in the DFW Metroplex for the most part is consistent of 5 different percentages, 5 different taxes per se. So one is going to be the city tax. So in this case, we're looking for Cleburne's property tax rate. The city itself has a percentage allocated. The county tax, we're going to see the county that Cleburne operates in. So you're going to factor that into the property tax rate. So you're adding all of these together. So every single loan is going to be, every single property tax rate is going to be different, of course, but this is how you start stacking up the percentages for the most part. So the third one that you're going to run into 100% of the time is the ISD tax. So the ISD percentage. So you have the city, county, and ISD. So the schools. These 3 you're going to have across any DFW Metroplex city. Doesn't matter if you're buying in Garland, doesn't matter if it's Fort Worth, doesn't matter if it's Denton, doesn't matter if it's Frisco, Prosper, anywhere else, you're paying for these 3 taxes for sure. City, county, ISD. And the ISD is going to be the most expensive one or the highest one. And you're going to see this here shortly. The other 2 percentages that you typically lump in and are paying property taxes on, those don't always happen, but generally you can at least count on one of the 2. So the fourth one that typically happens is the higher education tax. So like a community college tax. And then the fourth is a hospital tax. And you're going to see those in various cities. Sometimes you're going to see a hospital percentage. Sometimes you're going to see lost my train of thought. Sometimes you are going to see a higher education tax. It just depends. So again, the 3 that you're going to have come heck or high water: city, county, ISD. Then sometimes you're going to run into a higher education tax, and sometimes you're going to run into a hospital tax. So for our purposes today, what we're going to do is we're going to go right back to Google, and we're going to get this information. We're going to go to Cleburne property tax rate. Just like that. So Cleburne property tax rate. We're going to go straight to the city if we can find it. All right, so property tax Cleburne right there, official website. So try to get to the official website. Sometimes you have attorney offices like this. This is outdated information for the most part. Not trying to throw shade, but you're going to see a difference. You're going to see a difference from what's been published a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And sometimes those city aggregators that put in this information in one place may not get updated all that frequently. And city tax rates, they are subject to change. The property tax rates are subject to change. So I want you to have real information so you can make current decisions. Property tax. So we're going to click on here and we're going to try to find that property tax rate because they don't make it easy. So as you can see here, you see that they've actually lowered the city tax. This is important to note. This is 0.58. I know right out of the gate, this is just the city tax. We still have to do some additional digging. And sometimes we're not going to find all the answers, unfortunately. It just depends on how well the city does with their transparency. Funny enough. All right, so this is in Johnson County, which is something that I forgot to allude to earlier, but you see the property tax rates, they got up to 0.8%. And now they're 0.58%. So that's a really good thing that we're seeing, that it's trending in the right direction and some savings there. But so far, this has given us half of the equation, right? This has given us not even half of the equation, 20% of our equation. So that's why I have to go through this explanation of this is not the entire story. And keep in mind, this is not going to be the end all be all. So if we were to factor in that, hey, we only have to pay 0.58%, you would be grossly estimating how much property taxes are going to be. This number when it's all said and done, it's going to be 4 times as much, most likely. So you're only factoring in 25% of what the property tax rate actually is for you, and that would be disastrous. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to find that information elsewhere. We might end up having to resort to the this particular website. Hopefully that's not the case, but let's see. This gives you rates. Here we go. All right, so they don't make it easy on us. But I'm going to show you exactly how to calculate this so we can get pretty close to the answer. Sometimes you're going to have a website that just points it out plain as day. Here's the city, here's the county, here's the ISD, here's the hospital, and here's the higher education. But sometimes they make us work for it. But that's why we're here. All right, so as you see here, we're going to use 2023 rates. So we know that we're in Johnson County, and we see Cleburne is here. So that's 0.58%. All right, so we have the city. Let's go and find the county. So we see the county right here, 0.335, which as you start doing these analysis, you're gonna pick up the theme, which is right in line. You're typically gonna have the ISD be your highest property tax rate, then you're gonna have your city, and then you're gonna have the county. So this makes sense that it's less than this. So right now, if we're keeping a running tally in your mind, even though I don't like doing public math, this is roughly 0.892. Keep that in mind. Now we're gonna add the ISD tax, the school tax. So here, if you add this into the equation, what's that? That's why you don't do public math. Let's just say 2.1%. Let's say that. So I add 1.2 plus this. So let's just call it 2.1 to be even. So I've added those 3 taxes. Now let's see if there's anything else. They have a college. So Alvarado Hill College. So now we're adding that college. So that's why it's so important that you know how this works here. Because again, if we had just taken Cleburne, the city, and we didn't know any better, which you do now, but if we don't know any better, we'd be saying, hey, okay, 0.58%, that's not too bad. Jaime was saying that was the highest property tax rate, or one of the highest property tax rates in the country, but it's not terrible. Well, we have to keep adding. So let's just say 2.1. Now we're going to add a community college or a college. So we have Hill College to contend with here. So let's call it 2.15. And let's see if we have a healthcare or a hospital tax. It looks like these are the 4 taxes that we have to contend with. Cool. All right, so we're going to say that it is 2.15. We'll go with that. Hopefully I didn't butcher math too much. So now that we went through all of that, we're going to put 215. I know it's a lot, and you were thinking, hey, this is going to be so easy, just plug and play. Sometimes the cities will gift you with that, and you're just going to pray and say, thank you, Lord Jesus. But sometimes they make us work for it. So that's why it's important that we understand where to go to get these numbers, how they affect our payments, because if we got this wrong, remember, this is forever. This is as long as you own that property, right? So you can find yourself with 4 times the tax bill that you originally thought. So that adds up extremely quickly. All right, so the interest rate, we typically put it at 0.75%. So we're going to leave this here. Now understand that interest rates or interest, not interest rates, the insurance, why did I say interest? The home insurance, typically we factor in 0.75% of the value of the home. Now note, home insurance premiums continue to go up. Same thing as your vehicle premiums. I don't know if you've checked it anytime recently. So this is something that, for the most part, putting 0.75% is a reasonable cost. Now this is annualized, just so you know. All right, so with that being said, I know we went through a lot of numbers and we went through a lot of things, but this is why it's so important that you understand the differences between the cities that you're purchasing, because while here in Cleburne, you're looking at 2.15%. If you go over to Garland, believe it or not, it's roughly if I remember correctly, last time that I looked at it, which was a couple of weeks ago, it was like 2.65 or 2.75. Garland is one of the more higher property tax rate cities in the DFW Metroplex. right? So although they're a few miles apart, I recognize that you might not be looking specifically at Garland and Cleburne in comparison, but you might be looking at Fort Worth versus Cleburne, or better yet, Burleson and Cleburne, right? So these property tax rates really impact you because sometimes that delta is significant. All right, so we're going to purchase this home. Let's just say we make $80,000 a year. This is our income for the year. This is gross income. Now, what's super important here is that we factor in the debt that we have. So what's considered debt? Car loans, student loans, child support, alimony, credit cards. These are debts. These are things that are considered debt and will be factored into your loan. So this is what is called debt to income ratio. This is what we're going to look at in our deep dive, our analysis. So again, the question that we're answering is how much do we actually need to earn? How much do we actually need to make in order to purchase a home in Cleburne? And we know that we need to buy a home for about $342,000. Now, you may be wondering, well, Jaime, what does a home in Cleburne even look like? So let's just do let's spend 15 seconds here. Let's spend 15 seconds here so you get a visual of what you would be purchasing if my website decides to play ball today. So we're going to buy this home, or we're going to look at a home that's about $342,000. And we're going to say $250,000, and I'm going to give you $350,000. So we're going to go into that delta. So I want to visually show you what we're talking about. I want to visually give you an idea of the home that we're looking at. So if you're looking to purchase in Cleburne for this amount of price, so for this amount of money, so about $250,000, this is what you're getting in Cleburne. So I'm going to scroll down. This isn't the value that I want to bring you in this video today. This is something that Zillow can do much better than what we're looking at to do today. But what I want to show you is just a very visual glimpse. So you see that's a mighty good looking home. So that I can actually tell you that that's actually a D.R. Horton home. I can tell you right off the gate. So you have a lot of independent builders out here. So brand new build right there, 268. Another builder. So you're going to have pocket builders there. This is actually the same builder, by the way. That built, yep, right out of the gate. So about $280,000, this gets you a brand new home, about 1,300 square feet. But if we go down to that higher price point that we were looking at, you're going to see D.R. Horton homes right here, right as you, right on cue. So we have 1,800 square feet, which is a little bit more in line with what we were looking at from the average prices. So this was something that we were looking at earlier. So $342,000, right on the nose. This is the stereotypical home that we first analyzed and saw on that Altos report. It had at least four beds, and it had at least two baths, and had about 2,000 square feet. So for this type of house, which is a huge house, all things considered, it's $342,000. So again, that's a little bit of what it looks like. We're not going to spend any more time here. I'm going to X out of this because we have more efficient, more effective things to work on. All right, so we're going to include our debt. So whatever debt you have, again, car loans, student loans, credit cards, anything that you can consider debt here, which gives you a breakdown of what debt is and what it isn't, and you're going to add it here. So how much you actually have in debt, so make sure that you add that in here. Now, if you have another person that's signing on the loan, if you have a co-borrower, you're going to input their information here, however much they're making along with their debt as well, which is going to be factored into the loan, or essentially how much you can actually qualify for. For our purposes today, we're going to work with round numbers. We're going to keep it even Steven and assume that we have no debt. Assume that we have paid off our credit cards, and we assume that we don't have student loans or any car loans. We are living a pretty clean life right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to that second tab. Again, this is linked down below. Make sure that you check it out so you can follow along. If you're purchasing in Cleburne or any other city, you're going to want to check this out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to our affordability calculator. Also remember, Win the House You Love is actually the creator of this particular tool. It is linked down below, and go check out their YouTube channel with Kyle Seagraves. Fantastic product. So I'm going to center this so you can actually see every number. All right, so here's what we need to talk about. This is what's called the max price calculator. This is giving you a suggestion. It's not a hard, fast rule, but it's a suggestion on how much you can actually afford, how much you can actually, how much property you can actually afford on a conservative risk level. Well, what makes it conservative? It has to do with the debt to income ratio. It has to do with, well, some of you might be a little bit riskier. Some of you might feel comfortable with maybe paying a bit more towards a home and buying, essentially getting taking on more loan or taking on more debt in order to buy that house that you so choose. So what this calculator does by default is it gives you that conservative risk tolerance. Now, it also gives you a breakdown of what a more moderate, a little bit more aggressive risk tolerance would actually look like. So if you see here, if you make $80,000 and you're trying to qualify for a home that's $342,000, you're not going to necessarily be able to afford that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back here and we're going to say we make $90,000. We're going to inch up at it to give us an idea. All right, so this final answer, if we're putting 5% down, remember 5% down at this interest rate that we have today at the time of this recording, and we have a decent credit and HOAs, you know what? We can actually, I don't leave HOAs here because they're not going to necessarily factor into the loan, but we didn't talk about HOAs, but in Cleburne, it's not going to be that relevant because HOAs are not, unless you purchase new, HOAs are not going to be a huge part of your life. And for about $400, that's actually about right. But in reality, it's going to be about $200 to $300. It's going to be your HOA for the year. We're going to forget that for a second. So assuming that you're doing 5% down, this is the interest rate, this is the property tax rate and everything in between, you can afford a home by making $90,000 in Cleburne. So 350, this is a little bit beyond of what we're looking for. We're looking for $342,000, but for that amount, for this income, you can purchase the Cleburne home. Now, if you do more down, meaning if you put more money down, then you're not going to be asking for as much of a loan. So you're going to be able to purchase a bigger home, if you will, or purchase a home that's a little bit more expensive because you're not asking for as much on the loan. But we're not going to worry too much about that particular rate. What I want to show you more than anything right now is show you that if you go down here in terms of riskiness or in terms of the risk that you're willing to incur, if you're a little bit more aggressive, here is a lender will lend you this under the condition that you have a fairly robust credit score. So if you're going to get into the risky and the aggressive columns or rows, that does require a decent credit score, a little bit better than decent credit score. So just full disclosure there, don't think that, hey, this is an automatic done deal. It's not. It does require a healthy credit score. But let's talk about what this looks like in terms of monetary value. Let's get, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Oh, that'll do below. Oh, I'll show you that here in a little bit. Let's stay here. Just for the sake of our purposes today, don't worry too much about this. We already know that for $90,000 a year, we can purchase a home. All right, so good. I'm just trying to manipulate this number at the top to give us some real numbers that we want to break down. All right, so this is close enough. Remember, we're trying to hit $342,000. If you make $140,000, you're well beyond your capability of buying this type of home on a conservative risk level. So this gives you the percentage of your net income that you would be paying towards housing. So it'd be about $32.67. You could be more aggressive and you can buy a bigger home. Just be aware of that. But what I want to do here is show you the numbers, show you the math to really understand where your money is going. So again, we're assuming that this property is about $342,000. And our monthly payment, assuming that we do a 5% down and we have a interest rate of 7.5%, this is what you can realistically pay per month. Now that means that for 5% down on a property of this amount, you're paying $17,000 down and you're paying about $8,500 in closing costs. Now, this is where it breaks down into what the payment is actually going towards. So your principal and interest, that means the amount that you asked is the principal. So the loan amount that you asked for, that's your principal. The interest is how much you're paying on that loan, how much you're paying the bank in order for the right to borrow. Property taxes, we did a 10-minute segment on property taxes, but this is something that you pay every single year. And given that you pay less than 20% down, you will be paying your property taxes in conjunction to your monthly mortgage payment. Now, had you done at least 20% down, then the bank would have allowed you, if you want to, would have allowed you to pay your property taxes on your own at the beginning of the year, and they wouldn't be collecting it within your mortgage loan. So that's the perks, and that's the perks of putting additional money down if you so choose to pay property taxes at the beginning of the year without paying them monthly and having somebody else do the escrow for you. Homeowner's insurance, that's also something else that would be included in your monthly mortgage payment. Your homeowner's insurance is that number that we looked at, about 0.75% of the value of the home. This is what you're paying monthly to home insurance. Now, these are all conservative numbers. These are all reasonable numbers. So you have a good understanding of what it can potentially look like. Are you going to find numbers that are less than this? Probably. Can you find numbers that are a little bit higher than this? Probably. But this gives you a good indication of what to expect. Mortgage insurance. This is something that's very important, especially when it comes to the down payment. That's the parameter here. That's the trigger point. If you do anything less than 20% down, you're paying mortgage insurance. So if you do a conventional loan, as an example, it's called PMI, private mortgage insurance. So if you do an FHA as an example, it's pretty much the same acronyms, but it's MIP, mortgage insurance premium. They just like changing them up for whatever reason, but essentially it's mortgage insurance, where the bank is saying, hey, you put 5% down. That's awesome. That's great. We're going to help you purchase this home. We're going to take 95% of the risk though. So in order for us to pay 95% of that risk, we're going to need to tax you, and we're going to need to insure it with an additional percentage point, or an amount, a percentage amount, not necessarily a 1%. But here you're going to see about $162 every single month for that mortgage insurance. So think of whatever interest rate that you have, well, add an additional certain percentage for that mortgage insurance until you get to that 20%. Once you get to that, beyond that 20%, then that mortgage insurance goes away. Under the condition, let me rephrase, not under the condition, but that's if you have a conventional loan. A conventional loan, this mortgage insurance goes away. If you have an FHA loan, as an example, a Federal Housing Authority loan, the mortgage insurance doesn't go away. So those are some of the distinctions. And then your homeowners association, this is something that you don't pay with the monthly mortgage in monthly, but some folks like to save them up, like to save it up so they can have that at disposable when it's time to pay that homeowners insurance at the beginning of the year. So that's where this number comes from. You add these up and you're going to get the amount of that, $32.67. Well, actually, just it's included here, but for those that like to do the add to the homeowners insurance, is basically $32.67, including all these 5 things. Even though you're not paying the homeowners insurance in that mortgage payment, we just like to show it to you so you know that, hey, this is an additional cost in relation to your real estate that you just purchased. Now, if you scroll down, you're going to see different scenarios. You're going to be able to factor in some additional costs. You're going to be able to factor in different things that have to do with the down payment, the closing costs. Hey, what's the differences if you are able to negotiate? If you're able to negotiate a higher price, which I don't know why you would, or if you're able to negotiate a lower price, it gives you an understanding of what that will do for your monthly mortgage payment. Oh, sorry, let me go back here. This will adjust to the conservative numbers. So if you're wondering, well, why did it change so much? That's why. Here we go. So it's let you know, hey, if you're able to negotiate more, if you're able to negotiate less, it gives you an understanding of what it looks like. It gives you a breakdown of what goes to the what goes to the principal, what goes to the interest, and so many different other numbers. We're not gonna have time to go through the rest of this, but I just wanted to give you a good representation of what it looks like. So, long story short, if you are making $90,000 a year, you can purchase a home roughly $342,000 fairly comfortably, right around here. Again, with something I really want to stress is that property tax rate. I know you didn't come here to hear about property tax rates, but it's so important that you understand where these numbers are coming from. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. This is how you calculate how much you actually need to earn in order to purchase a home in this particular city. So for our purposes today, we just did a breakdown on Cleburne. Now, if you want to see another city breakdown, there's other videos on this YouTube channel that get into that, the city that you might be interested, then let me know in the comment section down below which city we should prioritize next.